Chris, thank you so much for being here today. FP&A sounds very corporate. How should a restaurant or bar owner think about it in practical terms?
In practical terms, that is the person that you run to for all your numbers. When you see those reports that come out every day and they show you what you should do next, how you're doing on your labor, how you do on your cost of goods sold, someone had to set that up, right? That doesn't just magically appear. And that is your FP&A person. They are really the closest partner between operations and finance. You're not really calling up the CFO or your accountant. You're typically calling up the director of FP&A. Is that a big company thing? That big companies are the people that have FP&A. My mission starting 8 years ago was to bring FP&A to the middle market so that smaller restaurant groups had that strategic partner to help guide their strategy on a day-to-day basis.
Do you need sophisticated systems to do it well, or can small operations start?
We're completely system agnostic, which means that whether you're running Toast, Revel, Brink, some of the major point of sale systems, you're just running QuickBooks or Restaurant 365 on the accounting side. We've seen them all, we've worked with them all. The analogy I make is that we're like the icing on the cake. We're like the light layer on top that gives you what you need because each individually doesn't tell you the whole story. Your point of sale system tells you about your sales and maybe your labor. Your accounting system tells you about everything below gross profit, but one or the other doesn't tell you the whole picture. So Skyline brings it all together into one spot.
What is the difference between bookkeeping, accounting, and FP&A?
Forward versus backwards. FP&A, what is going to happen? Well, bookkeeping and accounting is all about the past. You have to close your books. You have to file your tax returns. Do you have to have FP&A? You do. But like, don't you want to know, like GPS, where you're going? Are you looking ahead? Do you want to know which direction you're headed in? Is it the right direction? That's what FP&A is.
And given that you're focused on hospitality, it kind of gives you a better context about what is likely with these businesses.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they need to be strategizing and planning on a daily basis. And that
Mm.
requires a lot of number crunching that honestly, like, restaurateurs are not sitting down in front of a spreadsheet. They have like 5 minutes in the morning to make a decision. We
Yeah.
want to make sure that the right people have the right data at the right time. And that's it. Leave it to the experts, and then you can do your job better.
How should hospitality businesses think about forecasting when life can feel so unpredictable? What does good enough look like?
I mean, restaurants are highly predictable, both week over week, same week last year, and then also
Mm.
factoring into seasonality, right? We work with a lot of movie theater clients. There's a challenge. You don't know what the next Mission Impossible film is going to do. But
Mm.
the same point I'm going to make, which is once, restaurant week, Friday to Thursday, once you know what Friday looks like, you can re-predict Saturday and Sunday and the balance of the week. And if you miss that opportunity, which is where the majority of your revenue is, Friday to Sunday, you might as well just throw in the towel. You've kind of screwed up.
Mm.
So that's where the forecasting, even if you're just doing it in a spreadsheet and saying, well, what was last Friday look like? What's
Yeah.
the weather look like? What events do we have in town? Is it the Super Bowl weekend or is it something going to disrupt us? Look at your table covers and your reservations. Good enough can be a spreadsheet. Better would be a system that actually does it for you.
So your company will look at both like a normal flow of business and new events that are coming, movies coming out, restaurant week, Super Bowl, et cetera, and help operators prepare for those types of events.
100%. Any top line revenue prediction usually has three or four different inputs. Your starting point is same as last week. Then you have
Yeah.
to adjust down depending on what's happening in the world, in your neighborhood, weather, etc.
Where do you see operators consistently leaving money on the table?
It's this cycle of labor where you perpetually think that you need more and more labor. What we've
Mm.
developed over time is two-part system. One is looking at it from the perspective of actual hour level velocity. So like how many checks did you have at like 2 o'clock on a Tuesday? If a finance guy comes to an operator and says, hey, you need to use X number of hours next week, they're going to say, I can't do that. The only way for me to convince that person is to break it down to the day by day a week, by time of day, by role. And if I can show it to you at that level and say, hey, you had 10 checks on Tuesday at 2 o'clock, but you had four cashiers, well, what were they doing? Were they high-fiving? Were they shooting the shit? Probably, yeah. So that's where money gets left on the table is when you're writing labor schedules at a much higher level. You don't
Got
see
it.
that. But if you look at it at a very granular level, That's where there's often a lot of opportunity. There's also a lot of opportunity around the edges, the ins and out times, looking at your operating hours and saying, did two people really need to come in at 7, or could one of those people come in at 7:30 or 8?
Mm,
Tiny, tiny differences that if I told you like I'm going to save you $50 a day on your labor, that doesn't sound very exciting, but it's like times 28 stores, times 365 days a year, times 1.2 because you have taxes and health insurance and burden and everything else. It adds up, but you have to look at it at that level in terms of say, hey, you're leaving money on the table. It might not be a lot every day, but it adds up.
it's really granular supply and demand calibration.
And also what drives each role, right? So like, a server might be driven by a check count, right? You need a certain number of servers to meet those checks. But what if Donald Trump comes in one check and spends $1 million? That won't
Yeah.
work for your cook. Your cook needs to be driven based on, well, how many hamburgers are they making? How many of this are they making? So every role needs to be broken down by what's its true driver and then forecasted off of that.
Does your forecasting also work to pricing, inventory, and meals and all of those types of things?
Once you've done a very good top line forecast, it can cascade down into other parts of the P&L. So it can be used for order forecasting, and then it can be used pricing strategy as well. I've helped with menu engineering. I've also helped with limited time offer measurements and things like, okay, great, we offer this limited time offer. Marketing people love to say, hey, well, we sold $50,000 of hamburgers last week when we did that promotion. It's like, okay, but what would you have sold anyway? What's the
Yeah.
difference? And so we've got
Wow.
clients come to us and say, CFO says, look, I want to know what the incremental was. They did an action. What was the reaction? And should we do it again? I love that because then I can say, yeah, step on the
Yeah.
gas, worked, do it, or don't ever do that again. You
Yeah.
made $30,000 and just didn't do anything.
Do you collaborate with marketing departments on these types of things then?
100%. I love customer level analytics. It's usually not the first thing we do.
Yeah.
First thing we do is probably solve labor, then solve cost of goods sold. Then it
Okay.
goes into more fun stuff like, who is your ICP? Who is your ideal customer? And how do we determine that? We're looking at check level detail and the behavior of customers coming in. And then the question is cross-referencing that against external data, where do those people live? Maybe men in their early 30s or something. You're like, okay, well, what are all the zip codes around your restaurant? Where do you need to advertise to target
Mm.
that person? Because it is all about customer lifetime value and getting those people to come back as many times as possible.
You're talking about a hierarchy of needs in a sense. So you get in and clean up the low hanging fruit and then,
It's a journey. Data analytics is
yeah.
a journey. We want some quick wins, right? We want to optimize some of the easier stuff, some of the bigger buckets, and then we don't leave any stone unturned. Even things like laundry and linen spend. How many napkins
Mm.
are you using per customer? One restaurant's using 0.7, the other one's using 1.2. Well, what are they doing? Are they putting extra ones on the table? Are they throwing them away? We can see that. The data.
What does it look like for a hospitality business to start working with you?
So the typical interrogation that I do is how many data sources do you have? It's usually two to start. It's usually the point of sale in the accounting system. That'll give me 80% of the visibility that I really need to start moving the needle on the labor and stuff. Sure, there'll be other stuff, inventory management, customer loyalty, maybe open table, stuff like that. But let's just start with those two. Is that an easy one or is that a hard one? Are you running Toast? That's an easy one. Are you running something from the 1980s? There are restaurants out there that are still running something from the 90s. These are hard one. I usually throw a fixed fee at them and I say, look, X number of dollars for us to build your system out. And then from there, it's really just consulting with someone like you would consult with a lawyer or an accountant or something like that. Maybe my reporting is perfect and you've got all the answers you need and you never call me. Well, then the only thing I'm charging you for is hosting. But really, my big bet is you see the data, you see the reports, and you say, I want to work on labor with you. I want to revisit our menu and our pricing strategy because that is where our expertise is as consultants. All that data stuff is just a means to an end.
Tell me about you start working with someone, they get it dialed in, they're ready to open their second location. Is it a big leap with you from one to multiple locations?
It's really not a leap at all. It's a couple hours of work, honestly, because really the hard
Mm.
was setting up that first one, getting everything dialed in and mapped in. Adding locations, we've got restaurant groups that have over the last few years gone from 15 to 62 locations, just able to rapidly scale with our clients more so than really any other provider.
Really collaborate with good systems that allow them to have a franchise model in a sense. So all of their locations are very consistent.
Yeah, and then the reporting is already set up. So adding that next one, having the same reports go out to them every day, it's pretty easy peasy.
Sounds like a no brainer. One last question. If you could give one piece of advice to a hospitality operator who wants to build a financially strong business, what would that be?
It's going to be a little bit of a cliche, but cash is king. You can't manage your business off your P&L, and you can't manage your business just off the bank statement. You have to be looking ahead, and you have to understand all your cash in and your cash out. Maybe you're doing big events, and these people come in for their event, but they haven't paid you. That float of when you incur a cost and when you actually get paid for it has been the downfall of more restaurants than we want to openly admit, because they're not planning for it. Or like gift cards. I mean, you sell gift cards, but like you take in that cash. Well, that cash, you still eventually have to service those gift cards. Eventually, you're going to have to give them food or whatever it is. You have to plan for that. And I've seen people just take their eye off that ball, where
Mm.
if you're going to do nothing else, really, you need a serious 13-week cash flow report. Just understand every week what's coming up and how you're planning for your cash, because it will help you avoid the iceberg. I promise you.
And the dashboards or the data that you're giving these operators will make it really easy to see those numbers.
Yeah, and to put one of these together, right? I mean, you can
Yeah.
take a highlight system and immediately roll it into a 13-week cash flow report, but it's important for people to understand their business at that level. It doesn't take a tremendous amount of effort either. It
Yeah.
takes maybe an hour on a Monday morning to roll forward one of these things, review it, and make sure that you are planning appropriately.
Do you find that most hospitality businesses are a bit undeveloped in this area, or what do you notice about the industry at large?
I think that they are underdeveloped in this area. Part of the reason I started this company 8 years ago, bring big company analytics to the little guy. They're just so used to being dangled the shiny toy in front of them. The next shiny toy that promises that it's going to solve all their reporting and visibility problems, but each data source is siloed. They're not giving you a comprehensive view. They're not going to solve your problem. I've had clients that have changed point of sale systems 3 times, and they each time thinking it's going to fix something. And it's like, no, that's
Yeah.
not problem. The problem is the visibility overall. So they're underdeveloped in this area, and it can be the difference between survival and not survival, because none of us are printing money. If we were printing money, people like myself wouldn't exist. Wage rates go up 3 to 5% every year. Health insurance went up like 15 to 17% last year. If
Yeah.
you're not watching, your margins are just going to erode. So why not use something that is in your back pocket, which is all your data, to make smarter decisions to counteract that? And that's what we do.
I feel like we've covered a lot of ground, but I would love to see more of my clients working with you. Thank you so much for taking some time today, Chris. It was great to talk to you.
Yeah, it was a fun conversation. Thank you for having me on.